Alright, in this video we'll see how to create a carousel, logo carousel with the help of Swiper.js. This is coming from a shortcode. So you see this is a shortcode that we have added just below here, and each post will have a section called client logos where you will be able to upload your logos, and these logos will be displayed in the carousel in the form of carousel with Swiper.js. Now these settings are done with AJAX. If I click on use this image, you will see the images will get added, and if you want to remove some of the images, you can see just by clicking on the X, these data would be removed, and if I click on save, those data would be fetched and displayed over here. So the feature that we have used in this image in this video is we have a Metabox. You can see this is a Metabox, and if I click on add logo, you will see media library API shows up, and we can select multiple images just by clicking on use text or to append those, and these data would get stored over here. If I click on browse, all the data would be stored in the form of AJAX. Sorry, would be stored in the form of URL with the help of AJAX, and if you just click on refresh, you will see all the images would be listed in the form of Swiper.js. And if you click on add new post, each post will have the Metabox option available to it, and you see this is a new post, and I'll be able to select multiple logos. If I select these and click on use, and let's just name it clients, and click use your shortcode and click on publish. So once it's published, you can view the post, and you see with the help of shortcode we are fetching these value and getting displayed in the form of Swiper.js carousel. Enough. Now let's see, in this video these are the topics that we would be covering. We would be creating a custom table in the database. You see this is the custom table from the database. The second thing is we'll be using Metabox and AJAX. So this is actually a Metabox. So you can see the client close is actually a Metabox. You might have seen advanced custom field, so that kind of feature we can achieve with the help of Metabox. Now we will be custom coding it. The second thing is Media Library API. If I click on add logos, you'll see Media Library API shows up. In the previous video we have seen how to select individual images, but here in this video we'll be selecting multiple images. And once I click on use, these images would get text. Without page refresh, they would get added in the table. Also in the you'll see a preview. So just by clicking, if you don't want something, you can just remove this by clicking on the X button or close button. This is also, we have used AJAX to achieve it. Now we have shown Media Library API, I have shown AJAX. Now the shortcode. With the help of this shortcode, we would be fetching the logos based on the ID. So that's on the coding part, you don't have to worry about it. You'll just use this shortcode and you'll see this HTML shows up. And now these are the functions we'll use to achieve this kind of feature which I have just explained. In case if you are interested in learning similar kind of plugin tutorial, or you wanted to be a WordPress developer or a web developer or a web designer or a UI designer or a UI developer, I have a complete roadmap for it. Let me just show you. So this is the page where you can learn. So this is a LMS website where you can enroll to a course and learn. So if you are a beginner, I would recommend you to start from HTML, then get into CSS, then JavaScript, then PHP MySQL, then WooCommerce, then theme development, then plugin development. If you are a intermediate level developer, just directly start into the WordPress development. Now each course will have a lesson, which is, this has 56 lessons, this has 104 lessons, this has 100 lessons. These are divided. If you are a very beginner, I have made the course in such a way, we'll creating a section, we'll choosing a section and we'll create HTML and CSS from scratch, and then we'll be converting PSD to HTML. We have a UI and we'll be converting it into HTML, and then we would be converting a UI design which is in PSD form, and we'll be converting it into Bootstrap. So this is the roadmap for 0 to hero. Similarly, if you want to be a Laravel developer or a WordPress plugin developer or WordPress theme development, this is again a 0 to hero level roadmap. Similarly, for JavaScript, many of them know the theory, but many of them face difficulty in implementing those. So this course is designed in such a way, again it's 0 to hero. You would be starting from base, and once you get into the 100th lesson, you would be able to clone a particular website, fully functional website, which is IMDb clone, which is Giphy site clone. We'll be creating a quiz game, we'll be creating a custom chatbot, we'll be creating word guess game and typing speed test. So each video is practical based. You would get a source code with it, and you can use it in your interview to showcase as a portfolio. Enough of the intro. As of now, this course is free. As day passes, I'll make it paid. Let's get into the plugin development. The very first thing, we want to show our plugin in this page. So for that what we need to do is we need to get into the plugins folder. As of now, I have installed WordPress locally, and inside I have named it as plugin website, and we need to get into the folder called plugins and create our folder, which is showcase, and we need to create a PHP file which will have our plugin code. So we need to get into showcase and store and have a PHP file similar to the folder name. It's not recommended, but it's good to have. And to pass the information which you see over here, who is author and what is the name of the plugin and the description, we need to pass a comment, PHP comment, and this PHP comment will give your WordPress more information. And UI monk, and that's enough to show our plugin in this particular page. UI monk showcase multi upload. This is the name, this is the description, this is the version number which you see over here, and this is the name of the author. Now when I click on activate, I want to create a table on this database. So for that we'll be using register activation hook, and when your plugin is activated, we want a function to get called, and that function will simply have the query for your create table code, SQL, or you can say SQL query. Now we have defined the database. WPDB is a WordPress object which lets your file to communicate with the database. So this is a global object which WordPress provides, and we are defining the table name. This is the table name. This is the prefix. Every database will have a prefix. In this case, it's WPDB. It will give you WPDB hyphen and this table name. And this is a query. I want the ID column, I want the post ID column, I want the image URL column, and I'm making the ID as the primary key. And to execute this custom table, WordPress gives you a function called delta db, and we need to pass the query. We need to pass the SQL query inside it so that it creates a custom table. Since we are using custom table, we need to execute them with the help of delta db. If it is the table which is already present, like WP option, WP post, we will be using WP query. Now that's enough. Once we activate our plugin, we would be seeing a new table on this database, which is client showcase multi, and these are the columns that we have defined. We would be storing the image URL, we would be storing the post ID of each post, since our Metabox is available to all the posts. If you see on this particular, the second one is actually the post ID. One post ID 195, look at the 195, it has multiple images linked to it. Similarly, another post ID which is 206, which has multiple images linked to it. So that's the reason we are using post ID. Now we need to register the post Metabox so that it gets displayed on all the posts. For that we have a hook called add Metabox, and we'll be using this function to link our custom Metabox. And now this is a function that adds our Metabox. So this is the handle, we don't have to worry about it. So this is the name. Let's just name it client logos 2. So it won't get conflict. And this is a function, callback function. So when someone, sorry, this is a callback function. What happens is, in this function we'll write what are the fields that we need to show on the meta box. And since I have made this post, it will be available to all the posts. If you make this page, it will be available for all the pages. If you create custom post type and pass the slug to it, it will be available to only that custom post. And the normal is nothing but, do you want to show just below the editor or on the sidebar, or this is the priority. I'm saying high, so that's the reason only we can see just below this, and it's not loading because we have not defined this callback function. Let's define it. So that we can see client logo 2 section. So you see, this is the old one which is activated, and this is the new one which we have created, client logo 2. And in this function what I need is, I just need one button, and a list which will populate, and a list with ID which will populate all our images, and this also has an ID. So when someone clicks on add logo, I want a media library API to show up. So for that we need to write a JavaScript inside this. So when someone clicks on the button, I want the media library to open with the help of wp.media. We are selecting the logos. So if I click, you'll see this title is actually coming from select logos, and use this logo. You see, when I select, you see use this logo. This text is also, we are custom adding it. And then since we are making this select multiple, if you want single image to get selected, we'll be using false. We want multiple, so that's the reason 2. When someone selects an image, what should happen? So that's what, this is the default keyword, or you can say custom. It's not custom made, it's actually the WordPress provides it. It says whatever you select, use that. So if suppose I select this image, so this one will hold an object of this of these images. And since we have used multiple values, we would be using for each images is stored in the attachments. And now since we have multiple images, this is in the AJAX form, sorry, this is in the array form. Now what we need to do is, we need to create an AJAX request so that these get stored into a table, on this table. Now I am creating an AJAX request. Since we are in the backend, this function will hold, since this is a keyword which holds your wp hyphen, the link which is admin hyphen ajax.php. Now take, since we are in the 40th video, I hope you know how to create an AJAX. I'm just running it little faster. So to make an AJAX request on the WordPress needs an action, so that whenever someone sends an AJAX request, it can make use of it can receive these posts, this data which you are sending, and make a manipulation of it and send back a request. I'm repeating again, when in WordPress, whenever you use AJAX, WordPress expect a keyword called action, where it can do some calculation or manipulation with the data you are passing right now in the form of post ID and image URL, and it will receive. So these requests will get sent to a function or a hook called, let me just create it. You see, I have used wp underscore ajax underscore, whatever you write here, it's actually coming from the action. That's why the action is needed. So these values, the post ID and the image URL, since your table expects post ID and image URL, you are sending the post ID and image URL, and we are choosing the table and we are inserting those values. Since we would be receiving it in the form of string, we are typecasting it to a int and sending it to the post ID and the image URL. And what happens is, the by default after insertion WordPress would send you an insert ID. We don't need it as of now, so that's okay. Now we need to check whether we could see a button on the Metabox along to open a media library. It doesn't seem to open. Let me deactivate the old one and select our new one. After 10 to 15 minutes of checking, I forgot to pass the post argument, so that's when it got blocked, our media library API. Now what we need to check is if we whether we are able to select some of the multiple images. Yes, we are able to do that. When I click on use these images, these data should get stored into the database with the help of AJAX. These three images, it's taking some time, and this is the actual database, sorry, table, and these three images are able to get saved on the table. Now what we need to do is we need to fetch these values and display it in the form of preview. So for that we need to create a function in JavaScript. We need to send a request to the WordPress hook and get the reply from the hook and display these links. Now for that what we need to do is we need to create a function. That function is going to load images, and in the load images again we are sending an AJAX request, and once we receive these value we would be appending it into the list item which we have displayed over here. We will be receiving after that we would be calling that function so that it gets load automatically. Now since we have used action, we need to create a hook just like we have did wp underscore ajax underscore the action name. Over here the logic is going to be very simple. Since we have the ID passed, you can see we have passed the ID, we'll be just fetching that particular post ID over in this case is 220, and use the for each loop and append this HTML. Let me just go through it again. We have access to the database with the help of WPDB, and we have used the select query where we have already passed ID to it. We are appending it to the, this is digit actually, this is the received one, and we are appending it over here, and we'll be receiving only the rows which has the post ID matched, and it would be stored in the form of associative array. And we have the logo URL, sorry, image URL. We'll be using it inside the HTML image tag inside the source attribute, and then a button which will have the X, you can see close button, and then we are using this primary key ID. So each one of them is assigned an ID. We are using the ID to be as a HTML attribute. You see data hyphen ID, and I'm passing the received primary key so that we know which image to remove. So that's the reason we have used this. And this list item has two values. The first one is images and the second one is button. So we need to write the CSS so that the button gets overlapped. So this CSS would work. Now we need to load this load function. What it does is it simply fetches your values in the table and get displayed it. And even after the selection also, I want in the media library API, even after I select, I want these to get loaded. So let's refresh. On page refresh, we should see these images gets listed just below the list, and you see these images which we have already added. Now let's try to add one more image, and without page refresh, these data got fetched from this function which we have displayed, which we have used. Now again there should be another row. Yes, as expected, the AJAX works on page load as well as on selection. Now if I click on this button, I want this list item. So these are actually a list item. Inside list item we have image and a button to get removed. So for that, again we need to send a AJAX request for removing. So to remove, we just need to pass the ID, primary key ID. So that's the reason we have appended the data-id on this image or on this button. So let me just scroll down and show you. Click on this button and you'll see a HTML with data-id2. So each of them will have, each button will have a data ID. Data ID is actually a primary key. So once I click on it, I need to again create a AJAX function, just like we have done over here, post-AJAX. Similarly, post AJAX URL, and that need to be triggered when I click on it. So when I click on the button, get the data ID attribute, which is actually a primary key, and pass it to the AJAX, which is to this action, and based on this action we need to create a hook so that it receives the ID and delete it. So this is the hook that takes care of it, and since we have passed the ID, it receives it with the help of post superglobal PHP variable and deleting it. Let's see in action. So we have 4 values, and here also 4 values, and let's put the last one. Without page refresh, it got removed. Also in the database, the 4th one is gone. So our insertion is also happening fine. Let's use this. Our insertion is also happening fine. To check it, cross check it, without page refresh, it got saved. If I remove it, then also it should work, and on page refresh also it works. Now it's time for the Swiper. So to create a shortcode, we have add shortcode function, and with this we need to check whether someone has passed an attribute or not. If the attribute is not passed, we need to access the post ID. So this is actually a post ID. You can see post ID 206 is actually coming from here. If there is no shortcode attribute is sent, we need to use that post ID, so we can access that. Now this is the code for the shortcode. Whenever the shortcode is used, this function would be called, and we have access to the database with the help of WPDB. We have to do nothing. We need to fetch these values and surround them inside the Swiper.js code. Swiper.js is a default code where you need to pass an image. That's it. And we are fetching these values from the table, since we know the post ID. Since we are in the particular page, we have access to the post ID. To get the post ID, we'll just use get the ID. That's it. And now this is the code required for the JS Swiper.js to work, for the CSS and the Swiper.js. And then, since there are multiple images, we are using the for each loop to get one by one and just populate it on the image. So this is the standard code for the Swiper.js. You need to surround them inside the Swiper wrapper. Swiper wrapper is a container for individual Swiper slide. This Swiper slide has your image. So this is the standard code for Swiper.js we need to follow to get the carousel work. Just to show you again, this is a parent container called Swiper. Inside Swiper we have Swiper wrapper. Inside Swiper wrapper we will have multiple Swiper slide, which will hold our images. And also inside the main container we have 2 buttons, which is previous and next. And we need to configure the Swiper.js. We need to call the container, which is the main container. We are saying we want slide per view only 4, and we need a space between 40, and we are saying it, we want it to be looped. And this is a navigation. This is the we are saying the Swiper.js that this is the next button and this is the previous button. It's getting highlighted. And on the breakpoint, if the screen size is 640, I want 3 slides to show. If the screen size is below 480, I want 2 slides to show. And that's enough to make our slide show work. Click on save. And this is a shortcode that we would be using. Use this shortcode on getting saved. We need to save it again because we have changed the shortcode. And we can view this. As of now, we just have 3. Let me just add one more slide. Let's use this orange and click on save. It got saved without page refresh. Click on save, and we need to refresh this page to see the changes that we have made. Now the orange one should show up. Cool. Similarly, let me add some more images. Click on save, refresh this page, and the 4th image also shows up. So that's all for the tutorial. Thank you so much for listening. Meet you tomorrow with another hook and another functionality.